Good morning, everybody. It's Video44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm trying to figure out, do I want to talk about Game 5 or do I want to give you the topic that's on my mind? Let's get into Game 5 since that's what I've introduced here. Game 5 of the NBA Finals is upon us. It's been a very long 2 days. I'm sure for the players, it has been as a fan. I've been very much wrapped up in how this series has gone, much more so than I ever imagined I would be. As it pertains to these two teams and what I thought, a series in the finals with them would look like. But it's been so much better than I thought. And it's been a treat. It's been a treat to watch these two teams. For me, looking at this game, I'm looking at Chris Paul. Because what we had in the last game was him more or less wet the bed. A lot of people were saying he came out there looking like Cliff Paul without his glasses. It was one of those situations where he just really just didn't have it at all, But I think because of the situation being as it is, he's going to come out looking to take his frustration out on the Milwaukee Bucks. He's got fresh home cooking. They headed back to the Valley, and I have a good reason to believe that Chris Paul will not have another game like that again. This is a player who's been in the league for 15 years, widely known as one of the best point guards to ever play the game, possibly the best point guard of his era, and quite honestly, he's someone who doesn't have a championship, someone who's been to the conference finals but has not been able to get past there. And he's hungry, and the only person in the way of him having a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals is him. Now, there are a lot of things that contributed to that game going the way that it did. Officiating was horrible, and that's well documented. Certain things just did not go their way. Obviously, we understand that. But at the end of the day, if Chris Paul plays better in that game, they're up 3-1, period. We know that. If Chris Paul does what he can do, what he's capable of doing, they didn't lose that game. They're talking about hoisting the trophy possibly this evening. You see what I'm saying? All his dreams coming true this evening, if not for his poor performance. Now, that's how I believe he's looking at it. I believe that position is going to fuel him to great play tonight. I do not think that he's going to struggle. I don't think he's in a slump. I think he's going to shake off what just took place and probably drop a spectacular stat line tonight. That's what I think is possible. So, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you expect that too. You'd be wise to think that Chris Paul would be somebody you got to pay very close attention to this evening. But understand this as well. Phoenix is headed back home. And all of the role players that didn't play well on the road are guys whose stats went empty despite playing well, like a guy like Jay Crowder who shot phenomenally, but it didn't lead to winning any victories. I think those shots are going to lead to more success at home. The crowd's behind them. It's going to be something to see, in my opinion. I really believe Phoenix is going to bring it. Question is, does the team itself match the intensity of that crowd this evening? The momentum is obviously wearing green right now. The Milwaukee Bucks have on a 2-game winning streak. They are a healthier bunch than the Phoenix Suns at this stage. With Dario Saric now out. Giannis is getting healthier, obviously. He's back to 100%, looking like his normal self. I think they did an okay job against him in the first half of the game, or rather, if I'm being real, he kind of messed up by kind of doing some things that he doesn't do well and made it a little easy on the defense in Game 4. But ultimately, he's still a force that they have no answer for. So I would expect that he's going to have a monster game this evening as well. Chris Paul and Giannis Antetokounmpo are probably going to be battling it out for honors game ball this evening. That's what I expect. It's going to be a stars game. Booker should have it going, but Booker's going to always have it going. I think that one bad game that he had was an anomaly. I'm more inclined to believe that he's going to score over 30 than to score under 15. He's just that great and consistent of an effortless type of scorer, and even when you have fantastic defense on him, he's still torching it. That's just what I saw. I mean, you have guys bumping the crap out of him. You know, a guy like Drew Holiday, who's one of the more skilled defenders in the world, you know, really putting his entire body weight into the game, into you know, bodying up Devin Booker. And even with the refs swallowing their whistles to a degree, he was still able to manage to grab about 32 points in a game where I thought they really tried to stop him. They tried defensively, schematically, to slow him down, and they had no success. So as far as I'm concerned, that will continue, especially now that he's back home. I have no reason to believe that won't pick back up. So even though the Milwaukee Bucks won the last 2 games, as I've said, I think that's almost like a situation where that's more so about because those games were played in their building. I don't know that they win those same games at home. Especially, again, if Jay Crowder is going to shoot 6 for 7, you're going to be hard-pressed to see the Phoenix Suns lose a game where Jay Crowder hits six threes and only misses 1 of them. So that's the type of thing where it's like this game was really strange. The Phoenix Suns, particularly in Game 4, is what I'm referring to. They shot better than the Milwaukee Bucks, significantly better, and still lost. So it was a lot of stuff that had to do with turnovers, really. The Phoenix Suns turned the ball over quite a bit. When the Phoenix Suns are very good, they have games where guys like Chris Paul don't have any turnovers. Guys like Cameron Payne don't have any turnovers. If you look back in those games where those guys really played well and didn't turn the ball over, the Phoenix Suns didn't have any issues. So they're going to have to get back to their ways of taking care of the basketball. And credit, is going to have to be given to the Milwaukee Bucks for managing to force those turnovers. You don't want to take away credit from the defense. So, you know, this is a great matchup for a plethora of reasons. I'm curious to see how Jrue Holiday comes out and goes up against a Chris Paul who kind of had a bad game in the last game. I'm wondering how he approaches this game, how he attacks it from an offensive perspective. I think the best way to attack a player that you think is going to have that type of mentality that I just described about Chris Paul is to make him work on the other end, is to be as aggressive as possible offensively, drive at him, try to get him in foul trouble, try to take the game out of his control by getting him in foul trouble is the way to go. That's how you attack a guy who's on a personal mission, for which I think Chris Paul will be on. You draw fouls against him. Attack him, you know, hit a couple shots in his face, make him frustrated at things that are outside of what he can control. That's how you approach a guy that I think will be on a vendetta if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. And two, you know, as I said, Jrue Holiday spent a lot of time on Booker, so you got to pick your poison. You know, he can't guard 2 people. So they're going to have to figure out who's off to the hot start. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you're paying attention to which one of those 2 guys is getting off to the hot start, and that's who you pay the most attention to, because really that's kind of what's killing you, is the fact that these guys are so elite. That backcourt is like, even if one of them's not on, the other one could be, and still creates a lot of problems. A guy like Mikal Bridges is going to have to improve coming back home. He didn't have the greatest road tenure in these finals, so he needs to get back to his playing in the ways that he does, stuff that he does well. Just get back to doing that. I know it's, like I said, he's the type of player who's kind of playing out of position, playing out of his role, has to adjust the most to the rotation changing with Sark being out of it. Him and Cam Johnson, guys like that, Torrey Craig, they have some very serious adjustments to make, not only as it pertains to how they play, but when they play, because of that. So I can understand why the adjustment has been a little difficult for those guys, especially in the finals where they're playing the same team over and over again. And the assignments that they have are tough guys like Giannis and PJ Tucker and Chris Middleton. So it's like you couple all that together and you're going to have issues for young players. So they haven't had the greatest finals, but I do think heading back home, we could see them have better games, both him and Cam Johnson. I just want to see those guys do more of what it is they do best. And getting where to fit in, you know. I mean, it is what it is. This is a series about stars. And, of course, I don't want to get out of here without mentioning these 2 players, Chris Middleton and DeAndre Ayton, because they're so very important to this series and specifically to this game. Ayton rebounded the ball very well in the last game, but unfortunately, in watching some of the highlights, some of the very things that he does best, he just didn't do as well as he needed to. So he came out of there with 17 boards. He probably should have had 23. With some of the highlights that I saw, he was getting boxed out, and some of the stuff was just effort plays. Now, I don't think it's an issue with him in terms of his mindset wanting to give you the effort. I think what we're seeing here is DeAndre Ayton finally starting to run out of gas. So Phoenix has to be very careful about how they approach the situation, because, they don't really have a choice. They got to play him. They don't have anybody else to play his position. And I think that plays right into the Milwaukee Bucks' hands. So I think they need to secretly get as much rest for him as humanly possible. They need to sneak opportunities to get rest. One thing that I've noticed that the Milwaukee Bucks have been doing is taking Giannis out early in the first quarter. He's usually, and it looks as if he's almost like he's calling to get out of the game because he's been injured, but I've seen he's done it more than once. They have to track Giannis's rest because Milwaukee's doing a good job of making sure that Giannis gets rest. They rely upon Giannis like Phoenix relies upon Ayton. So it would be wise for them to kind of mirror those guys. And I heard somebody else say this. I don't remember who it was, but it was an analyst who also mentioned this. I'm copying what they're saying here, but it's something that I totally agree with. Anytime that Giannis is on the floor, Ayton needs to be on the floor. But when Giannis is not on the floor, you sit Ayton. Even though you're more reliant upon Ayton than Giannis, you still need to be able to sneak rest for Ayton. That's what I'm saying. He's a fantastically conditioned athlete. But if you're asking him to play 48 games for the next 3 days, and he's going to be hopping on two 3-hour flights, basically 4-hour flights, however long it is from Phoenix to Milwaukee, that's jet lag you're dealing with. That's overall seasoned fatigue you're dealing with. That's the fact that he's the only big man on the floor type fatigue and load management that needs to be considered. All I'm saying is, to get the best out of Ayton, you don't let him run out of gas. That's all I'm saying. You don't let it happen. But I'm scared of putting Frank Kaminsky on the floor, if I'm being real. And it shouldn't be like that, because I've seen Frank Kaminsky play well. I know what type of player he is. I know what he is at his best. He's a stretch 5. He can do what he does. But the problem is, in this series where it's so physical, he's just obsolete. He can't rebound over some of these guys. He's not going to be physical. And I just don't think that he's the type of defensive presence you can get away with having on the floor against guys like Brook Lopez and with guys like Middleton and Giannis on the floor. You just can't get away with having him down there. You're going to immediately go on a negative 8 situation deficit is what's going to happen. You're going to lose. They're going to string together 8 straight points against you if you put him on the floor at the center spot. So it's tricky, man. It's tricky because that's exactly what I see happening. It's like, you know, you get Ayton out the game, you put Kaminsky on the floor, and immediately things are going to start going left. And it's evident. We've seen it before. Maybe he can have a good game, but it would be great if he can give Ayton a damn breather. Like, honestly, it would be great if what I just said just simply doesn't happen. His number gets called, he goes out there, and he strings together like 3 straight threes for the Phoenix Suns, because that's what he does. And I think that Monty Williams has kind of gotten a bit carried away from understanding what that particular weapon is. That's what I will say, you know, because I tell you right now, I'm not the biggest stretch 5 fan of like guys who are 7 feet tall, who shoot the 3 but can't defend. I'm not a fan of those players, but I know I can use them. I know where to put them in the game, especially when you got a guy like Chris Paul on the floor. So it's like, I just don't think Monty's using Frank right. And I think that's partially because they need him to be a center, a type of guy that he's not. They need somebody like Jonas Valanciunas or something like that. And they don't have that, you know, to kind of give Ayton a breather. Somebody who can do those type of things, a Willie Cauley-Stein, more traditional kind of center that can just be a big body, play some defense, and then sit down. You know what I mean? Throw his 6 fouls out there on whoever they got to guard and then sit down. Frank is more of a guy where it's like, okay, get us some threes, offense, 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 and the person next to him in that backcourt needs to be a defensive player who can rebound. That's what you need, and you just don't have that. Maybe you can put him out there with Torrey Craig, but the talent level is too low going up against Giannis and Brook Lopez. They're going to eat those guys. So it's like that dynamic just does not work, and because of it, Ayton has to play so damn much, rebound so damn much, box out against Giannis, PJ, and all these guys. It's a lot. And he's getting worn down. And that's what I see happening. And it is scary for Phoenix because they're thin. You know, it's just that simple. They're thin. And we've already seen, what was this, about 5 games ago? When Brook Lopez had like 33 points or something like that? Like, He can do it again. He can do it tonight. You know what I mean? He can do it in Game 6 if the Phoenix Suns lose tonight. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is starting to get very concerning for the Phoenix Suns. But the game is back in their apartment, or rather in their building. It's back in their crib. They're going to have an opportunity to feed off of their fans, have their role players play better and feed off those fans. And I think that will fuel them by way of a fantastic Chris Paul performance, which I expect this evening, to get the Phoenix Suns a victory. That's what I am predicting, a victory for the Phoenix Suns at home. This series is far from over if that occurs. And I am inclined to believe, as I just said, if Milwaukee wins tonight, I'm very worried about Phoenix going back to Milwaukee playing a Game 6. I think it's a good chance that Giannis could be hoisting the trophy in front of his fans in Deer District that night. So this is pretty much a Game 7 for Phoenix. You're coming off of 2 losses, obviously, as I've already said. Middleton is very important for the Milwaukee Bucks, because if Middleton drops 40 tonight, I don't know that Phoenix can match that offensively right now. Chris Paul, assuming he goes off, obviously Booker has to go off. It's only one ball out there. You know, they need a lot from a lot of people. So if Middleton continues on his tear, that looks real good for Milwaukee. So at this point, it's like, well, I don't really look at him as inconsistent as he's been, because he's really only had 2 bad games in the last 9 or something like that. Dude's been playing great consistently. So I expect more of that. 30-point Middleton is good, but 40-point Middleton gets the victory. So yeah, if he can light it up like he has been doing and is known to do, and they use him more so than they use Giannis, kind of the offense, make him the focal point of the offense rather than Giannis, which is a successful type of scenario for them. You know, my prediction goes out the window. The Milwaukee Bucks will win the game. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that has to go right, but I'm thinking Phoenix is going to just play off the crowd, and I think that'll get them there. I do think this could be a close game. I don't know what the referees are going to have going on since the last game. They had so much attention on them. I would imagine it's not going to go the same way. So we'll see. We'll see. Turnovers. Pay attention to turnovers. It's that simple. Who turns the ball over is probably going to lose the game. And rebounding. Rebounding is important as well. So, yeah, man. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy Game 5. I know I will. I'm about to draft me a fantasy football team real quick since it's that time of the year again. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.